Okay. Okay, it's just taken me a little time today to set up the presentation. Okay, so thank you for your patience. Uh, the first thing that we like to clarify, Enoch is also there. Hi, good evening. Is that
Hi everyone.
yeah. The first thing I like to tell people is that, hey, don't worry about the terms. We use the term open learning. Some people say unschooling, homeschooling, preschooling, whatever. How that doesn't really matter. What matters is we realize that education is not about one thing. It's about lots of options. It's almost like a continuum. You can be on this end or that end, and somewhere here now, maybe a week later, you could go more structured, less structured, more child choosing, more non-child choosing, or so on and so forth. So, and it can vary from time to time. I remember a group of ROE children went for a skiing course for about 4 weeks in Gulmarg, and that was like a military run space in Gulmarg. It's a government space, and it was like completely structured. Everything is ruled and everything, and these guys flourished there. They enjoyed it thoroughly. So for 4 weeks they were in a completely structured, no options, no nothing, no nonsense zone. All right, and then back to wherever they are. So that's what I call as options, right? Whatever one wants to learn, one can see where and how one wants to learn. So that's the journey that I'm talking about. So education to me is that. uh, so we when we started thinking about education, we are started with this question: what's the purpose, rather than how education should be. And unfortunately, we saw that around us it's mostly job focused, or career focused, and we weren't really very happy with that. For us, it was more about living and life. So education seems to be synonymous to living and to learning. That is why we call it life learning or life education, rather than, or open living also, not just open learning. When we think about it this way, then when we ask people what is to them open learning or unschooling, homeschooling, we get different kind of responses as to why they do it. Some people say, hey, I can do it at my own pace. Sorry, I can follow any philosophy. I can do what I want to do. I can engage with the real world, and so on and so forth. So there are many reasons that people throw. But to us, at the core of it, it's the child who leads his or her life. Much like uh, uh, much like Malar, your 2.5-year-old, I'm sure he lives his life as a leader
Yeah,
all day, whole day out.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So that's where we think of the first thought that comes to us is, hey, we don't need to bind the child with any curriculum. The child will literally figure out what the child wants to learn, and also that the whole world is available to the child to learn from, and everything is good enough. It's good enough to learn chemistry as well as do adventure, or learn embroidery, or learn poetry, or learn about psychology or singing. How does that matter? What matters is whatever one is really interested in, and one can explore many things. We also talk about not just what we learn, we can learn however we want to learn and with whomever we want to learn. We can learn from a teacher, and the teacher could be another child, a younger child, an older adult, or a grandpa. How does that matter? Right? We realize that the whole world is actually available to us, right from me learning by myself, or learning with the family members or friends and relatives, or the granny living next door, or our locality, the shops down the road, or in our city, there are so many places, there's so many people, there are so many things happening. And obviously, in today's world, the world is available to us through internet all the time, and we can also travel. So that becomes the open learners circle of learning, classroom, social circle, everything actually. The whole world just becomes the place where I live and learn. Um, a lot of people talk about, the whole idea of assessment, and for us it just makes more sense for the child to reflect on oneself, to have feedback, to connect with different people, and that becomes the journey to learn. So open learners literally learn from anywhere and everywhere, and they kind of go around their own assessment, their own way of learning, their own goals, their own visions, their own methods, and so on. And they can literally learn from anybody, and there can be so many things in the same way. So that's how we look at open learning. Uh, Finally, there's also this whole thing that people talk about at school or college, and we say, yeah, school, college degrees is one way. We all know that, at least I'm assuming people in this group are all through some school, college. But what is interesting is, so that's one way, and there's nothing wrong in somebody choosing a school or college degree. And open learners can also freely choose if they want to go to school for some time, or do a particular college, or apply for a particular degree. That's not an issue at all. But some of us open learners like to just explore many other paths. Like, let's hear this little video of a group of people who have started something new, and that's why I'm sharing a video where they are talking about it to you. This is called co-learning cohorts. Hear them out.
Hey guys, I'm Srishti and I'm 13 years old. I'm really passionate about writing, and today I want to introduce a concept to all of you called the co-learning cohort. A co-learning cohort is a place where we all get together and deep dive into our specific interests and passions. For example, if I like writing in my cohort, me alongside with other like-minded people will explore deeply in writing. Think of it as a school or a college, except that the curriculum is designed by us, for us. That will allow you to explore deeply into your area of passion without any constraints or having boundaries set by other people. This allows you to completely immerse yourself in your area of passion. If you're truly passionate about something, you should join the co-learning cohorts to have the experience of your life.
Co-learning cohorts are a small group of people who learn together because of their shared interest or passion. We work together, pull and push each other, and we learn more about the industry we're interested in, and we grow together.
Okay, so that's an option of creating your own path, which is called co-learning cohort. Um, if you're interested about this, you can always check out our website. Let me move ahead.
Hey guys.
Sorry.
Hi there.
The important part that when we talk to parents is that a lot of times people think that open learning is about freedom. But we say, hey, it's not really about freedom, because true freedom doesn't really exist in this world. We can't, I can't drive anyhow I want to drive on the road, right? I have to follow the path. But what's really more important is the act of responsibility. And what open learning is about giving the child, or rather not taking the child, the responsibility away from the child. I think children are born responsible towards themselves, their needs and wants, and they want to work towards that. And that is what really, in a way, open learning is all about. It's about growing through that responsibility, and enjoying that responsibility, and obviously working on that responsibility. And once we as parents, especially when we think of it in this way, then our role becomes actually very interesting, because it's no more it's no more a parenting role. Rather, it's like million roles. Sometimes I'm helping, sometimes I'm giving feedback, sometimes I'm enabling, sometimes I'm just an assistant, sometimes I'm doing him with the child, and so on and so forth. Because I'm not responsible, but I'm there with the child in the child's journey on a day-to-day basis. And that becomes the fun part, at least for me and for many of us parents. Yeah. Also, it makes us realize that we are not trying to say that open learning is easy or comfortable. Rather, open learners face a lot of challenges. And the best part is all the challenges are nothing but kind of opportunities to learn. The good thing is that we are facing real challenges, not some artificial things, but real challenge. It could be a social challenge. It could be a learning challenge. It could be a resource challenge. It could be anything, but I can figure out how I want to reach or find or fulfill my own needs and wants, and that itself is a way to grow. Yeah. So typically an open learner goes through this progression from exposure to exploration. At a younger age, exposure, then as they grow, they add explorations into the areas of their interest. And then if they identify a certain area or areas, then they get deep into it to get expertise, which is what these girls were talking about in the video. And finally, they can convert one or multiple expertise into an enterprise or a way to earn, to earn if they want to earn. So yeah, that's a little about open learning. Arohi is nothing but an open learning community where families come together to learn, to support, and to kind of live together. So the whole idea is of co-creation and co-supporting. That's what Arohi is. This leads to the child or the learner and even me interacting with so many different people and so many sources, so many ways of interacting, learning, so many ways of connecting based on our interest, doing things together as in collaborating, and also supporting each other, children supporting children, children supporting adults, adults supporting children, and so on. So that's what is literally Arohi. So people ask, hey, so where is this Arohi community? People who join or are a part of Arohi community like me, we are open learners sometimes from our home. We are open learners sometimes when we are at the Arohi campus. We are open learners when we can go to other open learning families, and at their homes we are together. We are a community there. And we obviously travel a lot, go to different places, and we are there also a community. So the Arohi community is everywhere. And most importantly, it's connected through this internet where we are using that to meet every day, do things every day, and learn from each other on an everyday basis. So Arohi as a community is, in a way, if I'm part of Arohi community, I'm part of it wherever I am. It doesn't matter. And from home, I can connect to different people at their home and do a lot of different things. Yeah. So lastly, that's an invitation to everybody to plan and come over and stay at our campus. So that's one hosting that we can offer to you. And just look up this link on the website and you can book and come over and stay with us. So that's interesting for us. As I was saying, open learning is it's not about easy or difficult, but it's about how much we enjoy doing and living our life. So that's what it's all about. So let me pause here. Duji is there. Duji, would you like to share the theme for today? And then we can jump into any questions and discussions around open learning.
Sure. Hi, folks. Sorry, I joined a little late today. And I don't know if my light conditions are good enough to turn on.
It's good enough. Duji, you're shining.
Yeah. So today's theme was about tests and exams. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Certification, test exams.
Yeah. So the idea of open learning usually means that, it's the freedom, like Ratnesh was saying, people feel that it's the freedom to do whatever you want. But very soon we recognize that open learners don't just do whatever they want, they actually want to test themselves and see if how they're doing and what they're doing, how do they measure up against what they expect it to be. And that's the beauty, like I think Lakshita and Shrishti were sharing, when you're not just, as a cohort, you're not just learning, but you're also setting yourself certain standards, certain targets, certain achievements. And when you cross those milestones, how do you know that you have crossed those milestones? You know that you have crossed the milestones only when you measure yourselves up against what you wanted to do. And that's the beauty of open learning, that we set our own standards and we measure ourselves against that. And so open learning is not, like Ratnesh said, it's not the easy way. It's the more responsible way, where you're not just answering questions, but you're also setting the question papers and setting your targets, setting your measures, metrics. So in some sense, while we can see that conventional education helps you in measuring up things, it open learning helps you measure yourselves up. And that's the beauty of the whole idea of self-directed learning, that you're not just learning yourselves, but also testing yourselves and learning how to set yourself those tests. And so that's why we say that when we are looking at open learning, we can't just look at it as the subject itself, but rather the holistic thing of the personality, the individual, the life we live. And so the theme is usually just a concept or an idea of open learning to kickstart the discussion. We are not a big group today, so we are 9 of us, so that's great. So we can have a more relaxed discussion in that sense. And yeah, so feel free to unmute yourself and share your thoughts or questions you might have about tests, exams, open learning, Arohi, the whole galaxy of things. And if you would prefer to, you can also use the chat window to type out your message. And yeah, and towards the end, we will come to Arohi related questions. Maybe in the initial part, we can focus more on the tests and exams and open learning and stuff around that. But there's no hard and fast rule. It's just an informal meetup. So feel free to jump in with any thoughts or questions you might have.
Yeah, we also have a couple of questions on the theme, Vijay. So I'll just roll that.
Oh, you mean the poll?
Poll,
Yes, of
yeah.
course.
Couple of questions in the poll. Just give me one moment.
Yeah. So while we have the poll going, it's not like we are going to grade you on the results of the poll on what you answer in the poll. So it's not a test. So let me just be clear.
There are 2 questions. Are you able to see both the questions? I don't know.
No, I think it's only one right now.
Oh.
It says 0 of 1 answered. So maybe once we answer, we'll see the next one. No, I think only one came through, Ratnesh.
Yeah, there was only one.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I submitted and it says bye-bye.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Pranav. I again messed up
That's
something. Okay. So maybe the second question we will ask. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can see put it as a separate poll.
Yeah, rather, I'll just put it as a question. So the second question I'm typing. Just give me 1 minute. I need to go. In the poll, it is showing me, but I don't know why it is not. Sorry. Yeah, so that's the second question. I put that in the chat. Sorry, something went wrong. I must have.
Yeah, you'll have to paste the options as well.
Wait just 1 moment.
Or it's okay. I mean, the rest of us, we can start the discussion. We don't have to wait for Ratnesh. He has partially succeeded in the poll test.
Okay, I copy pasted from. Okay, for the first question, we had lots of people talking about gain insight on weakness and also to assess progress over a period of time. Those were the 2 responses to why tests and exams are essential. Right. And there's the other question with some options. So we can just use that as for discussion if somebody wants to talk about that.
So what the poll reflects here, one is of course the progress part, which again speaks of like somebody external can only assess the progress. And probably I'm just kind of sharing. And it while it can also be self-driven, like I can also determine my progress, and there are ways and means I can seek feedback, or I would know as in things the way it happens, the way the output happens. It doesn't necessarily have to be external, a test and exams. The second is like the to check out on the weakness. So why we always check the weakness? Why don't we look for strengths? That is what needs to be looked at. Matlab, why doesn't exams tell us that this guy is good at this, and let's work on it? So that is something which we need to also look at. Yeah, that's it from my end.
So for me, usually a test, this is my opinion that I developed recently. So traditionally, or the conventional schooling system always induces the purpose of test is to always pass the test. And uh, I was like recent, I mean, after my board exams, or once I got out of the education system, I was asking questions like, why did you guys have to induce so much fear for the board exams? Like it is life or death. And sadly, some children take that up very seriously, and they end their lives when it doesn't go the way it's expected. So, so I developed an opinion that tests, the purpose of test is not to pass, but it's actually to fail. If we see some products that is being created in the market, they are being tested like hundreds of times. Like a good product to come out, it has to go through a test and fail like 100 times to get it perfected. So even I mean, I think one opinion we should have towards test is to see how we fail, so that we can improve on that. And I mean, well, yeah, I don't know how to sum it up. That's my opinion.
Sure. I like that perspective very much. We often say ROE is a place for failure. So if you like failures, come over. Success is a byproduct.
Yeah, and all successful people, I mean, who went through open learning earlier, they were called school dropouts, meaning they were all considered failures by the society.
Okay, so we can continue the discussion. Either we can more talk about exams, tests, even certification and so on, or we can even talk about any other aspect of open learning. And so feel free to ask questions or start discussion on any aspect which you would like to be discussed.
I haven't thought like literally in a very serious note of the tests and exam. I consider it as like very much like assessment, which is the second question. So in that context, like that is kind of in a way like how I don't know the name. It is written as here like many drawn comparison of the practical bigger picture of the any economy also. In that way, like we can understand our like how much our own potentials are. It is kind of a assessing only, I would consider. So it is kind of, I won't say like essential, but it is fine. Like assess self periodically in whatever we are doing.
Sure.
And many a times I also feel when we these exams and tests. So when somebody has a real doubt about something, and the solution. So when somebody is offering a solution, say कि exam के लिए ये लिखना, पर real life में ये नहीं होता है, वो ऐसा होता है. तो अगर marks score करना है तो ये लिखना. तो that and these are really practical answers people give. Okay, probably in the real life situation things are very different. but exams में तो अगर score करना है तो ये लिखना. So I don't understand that, duality of such things, of something different for exam and something different for real life. So I think it's more about being in the real life and trying it out there.
It's like Pranav, it is like doing a dual course.
I often get a question about the certification part from my close circle. So sometimes I won't know how to answer this. So they would say, okay, let's say your child is going through an open learning right now. And after a certain period of time, like suddenly if they want to pursue academics, if they want to appear for the board exam, what would you do about that? How you cannot go change it at that time because schools don't accept people if they are not come through the schooling system suddenly at a certain age.
But that's not really true, because we have a system called NIOS in which we can give examination at any age, and not just NIOS. A lot of state boards, Maharashtra, I know, Tamil Nadu, I know, these state boards allow you to give 10th at any age. There's minimum age is there, but there is no maximum age. So even if you are 50 years old, you can give a 10th examination.
Do they require any previous
No,
qualification?
nothing. No.
Okay, that's good to hear.
So you can inform the people who are asking that one is an NIOS, which is a central government initiative, and many state boards. I don't know about all, so I'm keeping that as many or some state boards. They allow people giving 10th at any age, and you don't have to go to a school to give the 10th.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So inviting other people, we have Debashri, Milind, Payal, Santosh. Please go ahead and ask questions or share whatever thoughts you have. This is a totally a meetup based on your thoughts and questions, and we will try and value add to that. So feel free to start discussion on any thread.
Yeah, hi all. Hi Ratnesh. We met at one of our meets about a few weeks back. I just joined in late, so didn't hear the complete discussion, but I was just joined when the poll was going on.
Okay.
And somehow I feel, like the competition should be with ourselves, like rather with self, like what I scored earlier and how I've improved myself. That should be the way the test should be conducted, to see whether we are really improving or not. Because as I think one of our colleagues here mentioned, you write something only for the sake of the exam. And practical life, it's a different scenario. Then it's of no use. Practically is more important and useful. So I think the test should be with ourselves. I don't know if everyone agrees on that, but that's how we are looking it for our son, whom we are homeschooling now for last 1.5 years.
Yeah, I completely endorse that. When I see children in our community, I see them giving a test every single day. Every single day they are competing with themselves. They're trying to be better or improve in a skill or do it in a more perfect way. Just yesterday, these two guys were like on to how fast they can solve this particular Rubik's Cube, and they were trying to beat the another one was solving. And they were trying to, I said, this is examination, man. And just like you were saying, they were only battering. They both had very different speeds, but they were both trying to get better at their own speeds. And this is something I see day in and day out with the open learners. They're only bothered about how they are getting better at something.
That's right.
And so in that sense, every day is a test and every day is an exam.
Agree. It's true.
So that's what in the chat. If you see, it's about self-assessment, and we look at our progress and not comparison. So it's like, how am I growing? Comparing probably with myself, probably a day earlier, but it's not comparing with others. So that's what it's about. What Milind was trying to say, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So we need not limit the discussion to test and exams and certification. We can move in any direction, whatever questions people have. So feel free to ask or share.
I don't know, it's a sharing or a experience, sharing of an experience. So the decision to do the like open learning, as we like started knowing more, or especially like obviously with the Arohi, questioning self, the approach is going on. It is still in a journey mode, but more I think it has started like is a more questioning the self, because we have never in many way like how Vijay had started, like setting a target for our own self and measuring it and testing it. I don't think, I don't want to generalize, like probably I haven't done that like often. We haven't done that so often. So before kind of bringing that as a practice, or inculcating that as a practice uh, with the child, like it is kind of a learning or a challenge that is going, I'm going to. So this method, like it is not like we are not competing, we are not doing any work for others or for the sake of the work, or for the sake of the job that we are in. I'm overcoming that, and that approach I'm in building. So that's the kind of a journey or a phase, more than in the context of the child. As mother had told, like our child is like 3 years old. Before whatever it is, we are trying to bring a set practice in thinking, doing. That's the kind of phase we are going. I'm going.
Surely it's sometimes more of our learning and unlearning than the child's. Yeah, Santosh, I thought you were sharing something.
Yeah. So my sort of a question, I would say, but it's slightly different from the theme of today. This is more to do with the, how should I say, motivation or the drive of the child. So, see, my daughter has been into homeschooling. I'm very happy with her progress, with her interest, and what she has achieved in this past, short period of time. But I had a question which was, or rather, a topic which was brought to me by another parent. She's not here now, and she has a teenage son. The question is about motivation. So, for example, if suppose a child is not motivated enough to do anything, just wastes his time or does nothing, is not interested in doing anything, how do we go about it? So this is a family which is well to do, and they didn't want to force their son. When he was quite young, I believe about 4 years back, they took him out of school, obviously because he was not doing so very well in school. And then 2 years of COVID, he did not go to any schooling either, so did not force them. And now he's like in that 18, 19 age group, which he's getting into what you would call as bad habits, going to drugs and alcohol and all kind of other vices. So the question she had is, open schooling is good. It's a choice of the child. Now, as you would say, right? I mean, 14 years of age is when he got out of school. Now he's 18, responsible enough, but he doesn't want to do anything and doesn't need to do anything. The family has enough money. They don't need to do anything. But so that got me thinking, so when we say open learning, what do we do? Or should we do anything at all? Or should we do nothing? Because after all, as a parent, it's my responsibility to make sure that my child doesn't go so very astray, doing nothing. I don't know if I got the question correct, but this is roughly what she was trying to say about motivation. How do we motivate the child?
Yeah, before I invite others to respond, I just want to clarify, to me, it has nothing to do with open learning. In any environment, so I don't think it's got anything to do with open learning. It's more to do with the individual and the environment where the individual is. So yeah, but so that's where I'm coming from. People tend to think that, in open learning, you have to be more motivated. But even in schools and colleges, not everybody is motivated to even study, for that matter, even score marks. So it's nothing to do with the school, college, or even at work, people are not motivated. Not everybody is same motivated. So I would say it's nothing to do with where you are. It's more to do with you. So yeah, but let others answer or respond to Santosh's thoughts.
There are actually too many pieces to the question, like many areas to address. So one thing is, he mentioned about the child going into drugs. So there could be various reasons for this. Not just the child is not doing anything. It's just the opportunities or the closed circle where he's exposed to all that. So those are some things that, I mean, it's not a topic under open schooling. Even anybody gets into that. So I mean, that has to be dealt altogether differently. If somebody is already into that, they should be taken to counseling, or if they're not able to help themselves beyond a limit, they should be assisted with some profession or something, so at least to get them back out of it and stuff. And coming to say about motivation, it's actually different for every kid, I believe. And sometimes doing from the doing nothing could be a perspective of people who are seeing him. They would have an expectation, and because he's not meeting their expectation, for them it could be that he's doing nothing. But there may be, see, if he's able to go out, mingle, get drugs, all that, there is a thought process. It's not like his thought process is not working. His thoughts are working, and he's able to think and get some things. So maybe there's something that as parents, I know nowadays everybody is busy with their work schedule. They don't allot enough time for the kid to understand what they go through psychologically or what they think about certain things. If that time is given, there should be something they can figure out that the kid can do. And I there's also there are people who make a living by doing nothing. There is one guy in Japan, he started a service called the Do Nothing Guy. He'll not do anything. So somebody will hire him because just he's not doing anything. So one coffee shop, they asked him, why did you hire him? So they're saying at certain hours, the coffee shop is very empty and it makes us sad. So we hired him to sit here. And some people say we take him, I have to go to a place, to a store or to a restaurant to eat. I don't want to go alone, so I take him along. So they hire him for that. And there is another YouTuber. I've never seen. My friend told me about this. So his videos are only about doing nothing. I can sit for 5 hours doing nothing. It's a challenge. Can you also do it? So that's how he has become successful. So there's always, I mean, there are different ways. If we don't see them through our molds or our mirrors, there's something we should be able to find out in everyone.
I love the way you put your thoughts here. I agree with a lot of what you said, and doing nothing is probably the culmination of our spiritual process. It's very hard to do nothing. So I was not leading there. What I was trying to say is that if this child did nothing, it wouldn't be a problem. The problem here is that the child has, or probably that is what we think, has nothing to look forward to, nothing to, nothing which binds him. And maybe that is why, or that is what the parents think, that is why, he's got so much of free time, and he needs to keep his mind occupied. And like you said, he's not able to do nothing. To keep his mind occupied, he's probably, taking some stimulation, external stimulation, like drugs or alcohol or whatever. See, the question, I would like to bring it back to what I was starting to say with motivation. It is perfectly fine when the child is motivated. My daughter is 11 and she's highly motivated. I'm very happy with the decision of homeschooling. Okay. But what I'm saying is, on a generalized sense, is it okay if the child is not really motivated to do anything, just, and not even not do anything, but into, then get into vices or, how should I say, bad actions and, self-hurting actions or hurting others.
So Santosh, sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So the two different things. I think Enoch also said, let's not mix that up. Somebody doing bad things is got nothing related to motivation, according to me. In fact, they are motivated to do those things. So there's nothing lack of motivation there, right? What you're trying to say is, hey, what about motivation with respect to, let's say, open learning? And one is the other thing is that what about bad habits? So to me, they are totally two different things, and in many cases, they are actually not even related. Unfortunately, what happens is, if in a schooling system, let's say, or in a college system, somebody goes astray, like you were saying, people don't blame the college, people blame the child. But in open learning, because we are a minority, if somebody goes astray, people will blame open learning, not the child. So that's a little unfortunate. So coming back to just the question. So let's stay with it. That, hey, what about motivation in open learning? And perhaps the problem starts with us being very pleased with somebody who is highly motivated. I'm not saying anything wrong about you being pleased with your daughter, but I'm just saying perhaps it's an expectation that everybody has to be motivated in the same way. But if we change our perspective, then we are ready to welcome, invite, embrace somebody who has a different way of working. And in my small experience, I've been with children for 21, 22 years. It must have been worked with about 15 to 20,000 children in this whole span of time. I haven't yet met an unmotivated child. Yeah, and I can say that very, very conclusively, not even a single unmotivated child, but I've met a lot of not understood children, or rather wrongly understood children or whatever. So I would say it is not that children are or any human being is not motivated. In the sense, they all have their own drives, they all have their own perspective, and one needs to first understand them and then work with them and take them forward. I guess that is why, and again, it has got nothing to do with open learning, right? All of these children that I've worked with, not all of them were open learners. I haven't worked with so many open learners, but I've worked with so many children. So it's got nothing to do with open learning. Again, I'm repeating, somebody can be misunderstood or their motivations misunderstood in any context of life, whether they are children or adults or even grandparents. Somebody was saying, hey, why is your mom motivated to not do this? So at any age, at anything, people can look at motivation in a way. It's a very interesting topic, but I don't know if that is related directly to open learning. Now, all I would like to say is that, hey, if we are in open learning, we are with the open learner, and we are also an open learner, and we together work with each other, give feedback, understand each other, observe each other, discuss a lot with each other, and that becomes the journey of doing together, including non-doings and do nothings and do many things and so on and so forth. And it really is very, very specific to each individual. I cannot apply the same yardstick to different individuals. That's the way I look at it.
And I would like to just add that, every challenge is an opportunity to learn as well. And if a family feels that this is a challenge that we can learn from, and approach it from a learning perspective rather than a correcting perspective, right? I think if we feel that the problem is not about the child and how the child is behaving, but rather look at it holistically and say, okay, why is the child behaving like this? And what is the learnings that we have in all these things? The perspective is extremely important, and that's one of the first things that the counselors talk about. And I really wouldn't use labels, Debushri. The kind of, dysfunctional family is a very commonly bandied about label. And what is a family and what is a function of a family? So looking at it as a dysfunction is somehow not, it doesn't sit too well with in my perception. It's much easier to look at it as challenges, and like challenges every one of us faces. So so this is yet another challenge, and it is also an opportunity to learn more about various aspects of life and living, and how we deal with stress. I mean, obviously there are stresses and strains that we all deal with. How can we convey that to children as well? How do we help them deal with the stresses that they are facing, right? So that's how I see it. So yeah. I mean, if you ask me, the biggest addiction is actually the addiction to sugar. And it's socially accepted, so it's not seen as an addiction. But you see that 99% of the world's population is addicted to sugar, I would say. But we don't see it as a problem, right? And the way we see addiction to quote unquote substances are considered as an addiction. So in some sense, there are lots of things that we can look at and learn from. And each of these opportunities, challenges, is an opportunity to learn. And it would be very easy to label things and put it under a bracket and say, let the professionals deal with it, or let the institutions deal with it. But I feel it's a little too simplistic, and it would be much more, as an open learner, I feel it's much more of an opportunity than a problem in that sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's an interesting whatever road we have gone on in terms of discussion today. Yeah. Share, please. Just a request, let's keep it relevant to open learning. We can always, the discussions can go into motivations and addictions and etc. But that's not really our space here. Our space is more of understanding the whole process of open learning. I think the key word which he has already shared is that the problem is an opportunity to co-create, to co-understand, to co-support. That's what open learning to me is all about. Whether it's within a family or two people or within a community, I think that's the whole idea. Right. More questions, please. More thoughts. It's already 6, so we can also have questions related to Arohi if you have any. Other than obviously open learning. is something. Yeah. So if nobody has a question, I'll throw a question. This question is something which has it's not a question, but it's something that has constantly made me think, uh, and I keep questioning people who don't really like being questioned on this. Is this whole insecurity that people feel with respect to so-called the Indian exam called 10th and 12th, especially the 10th. And in spite of a lot of people choosing to be homeschoolers and schoolers, yeah, even open learners or whatever you call them, many of them still end up, giving 10th or at least preparing for 10th and 12th. And when I ask people, hey, why are you giving 10th? They don't have an answer. Or at least the answer is as vague as, it's a backup, which is also a question mark to me. Is it really a backup? Or what for do you need a backup? And so on. So yeah, I'm just throwing it to the group because this is one of my questions which surprises me, or rather, it surprises me that people aren't questioning this whole set pattern of 10, 12. I have nothing against it. I'm only inviting people to question it. I would say it's a national addiction to give 10th, right? Since you raised the addiction point in terms of sugar, I'll say another national addiction is 10th standard. So yeah, what are your thoughts? Unless you have any other question, then this question can be parked aside. Then this question is not important.
Yeah, Ratnesh, in that context, what we have as discussion on this one is something like, as you put a question, 10th and 12th is something like what we look is like just one more avenue to probably look at yourself, judge yourself, or what direction you can take in future as such. But it is not something that definitely has to be done or should be pushed in for. Definitely not. It's just one of the avenues.
All I can remember from my days of being in 10th is I was only being told that this is what is going to determine the entire rest of your life. So based on how you do, this is what it is. And I also think because of the importance given to this, society by itself has created a peer pressure even among parents. So if a child does not score well or does not come beyond a certain percentage, the parents in their circle, they feel humiliated. They are not able to say my son is passed out with these many marks, or he flunked in this. So that's a social pressure they have unknowingly the test is creating in our society, which I think is harmful.
Probably I would look the 10th or the insecurity towards 10th or 12th. Yes, it can be insecure till you gain the confidence, I would say. At least like coming in contact with Arohi, and not only that, like even there are certain like it is common with Arohi only. So the people who had as initially also we attend, like open learning is like in the schools or any setup, like there is a direction. Like even in the case of I think Santosh's case also, when everyone goes to the school, everyone gets clears an exam, kind of like a push. They will have, okay, 10th, now I'm in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they will follow a direction. But someone decides to be an open learner, or the family decides to be a supportive for an open learning, it is like a more like a self-assessment, self kind of a push, setting a target, measuring kind of a thing. This journey, if once starts like more you are confident, I don't think like once you go in this journey in a very confident way, I think you won't have to, that you will overcome the insecurity. That's what I would say. And obviously, if there is a kind of a not so confident, or like completely couldn't push the individually in the journey, because there are set examples, like I don't want to highlight here, but again, like Ashavari is there, or like a peer of Ashavari, like Samyukta is there. Though they Samyukta also been completely from a professional doing courses and all, she had taken an offbeat path of occupation. So it is purely shows the individual or like a family, the journey chosen and the confidence they had put in the path or the practice. I don't think they will overcome the insecurity. That's what I would suggest.
And there's also this problem of how the test is being handled. Maybe the intention for having a test is different, but how the conventional systems handle the test is completely different, because education has become a business in our century. So schools want to compete with each other. So rather than focusing on the subject and developing the skill, what I remember is the main task was to how to crack the test. So there will be like there's a whole book of last 10 years question papers. So what is the probable question that you might get? So there are teachers who create these kind of like systematic approaches, like they divide the syllabus into two. Okay, the first question is asked from the first part and the choice is from second part. So you either study this part or this part. So it's all about cracking the test. So maybe the approach also has gone wrong. I mean, which is not developing the actual knowledge of the subject. And if it's done right, maybe it will be helpful, but again, it may not be for everyone. It may be, some kids may be cut out for it, like it's a mold applicable for those who are suitable for that mold. For the others, I think still there should be other type of methods.
Even the, sorry, like maybe I'm
so just I don't know if Ratnesh had this in mind. Sorry, just one quick point there. I think somehow we are rotating away or shifting a focus away from the question that I think Ratnesh had in mind, which is why are we so bent on this as a standard route, right? It's not about what its shortcomings are and things like that, but rather why we are thinking that this is the route to go. And I mean, if folks can share some of their thoughts on that. I don't know if Ratnesh had that in mind, but I see that we are somehow not addressing that part, but we are talking more about, what are the advantages, disadvantages, and things like that. But rather not talking about this particular thing, that why do we feel that that is the default, de facto option?
Thanks, Vichi. And just to add to that, why are we not even questioning it? I feel the sense that I get from people is that they're not even questioning the default route. They're saying, no, this much do you do kind of thing to the child. And so I'm even pushing it to that, like just because some person, not even 100, yeah, around 100 years back, created this 10th and 12th, we're not even questioning it.
So in some sense, we are approaching that point. We are about to question it, but then we are starting to justify the answers and the existence of it, rather than really asking those questions. So I would encourage all of us to think a little more critically about why we go for this rather than what it does or does not do.
I think it's most of it's a herd mentality. Like everybody does it, so we are convinced that this is what needs to be done.
It is to stamp the insecurity.
And what is this insecurity? Have we even thought
No,
about
just
it, questioned it?
Ratnesh,
Yeah.
Ratnesh, 1 second. It's like this, no? Whatever that insecurity is, if everyone has it, then nobody is insecure, right? So it's like everyone takes that chap ki, okay, I am also the same, you're also the same, you're also the same. So nobody feels insecure. Is that what you mean, Preeti?
No, actually, so what I have seen generally, it is about more about parents than the child. Parents want their children to do 10th, 12th so that they are secure or something. This is what my experience has been. So maybe that is where I'm coming from, that stamping the insecurity ki, theek hai, if it is done, then I'm like secure, my child is secure, his or her future is secured, and my child can go for any kind of any further exam or any kind of job or something like that. So that is what I've heard from people. So um, that's where I was coming from. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, but you don't seem to have that insecurity. So we would like to hear you.
No, I don't have it at all.
Yeah, so share that because that is not heard. In this insecurity word, I keep hearing. Let me hear the other side.
Yeah. So for me, 1 second. 1 second. Yeah. So um so this I've always been saying. Now I can switch on my camera because I've stopped my car. Yeah. So this I've always been saying that when people generally say that what will happen, what is success, what will happen to my child in future, and this that. So I've always asked or said or whatever, ki, what if my child only creates the environment? What will happen for the job? How will my child get the job if the child has not done 10th, 12th or some degree or something? So then I say, ki, turn the table and see if the child himself or herself creates that job or is capable enough to handle those situations, or it is the child's journey how he or she wants to do it. So why so that is what I want to say, ki I'm not insecure because I feel that it is her journey and she will figure out what she wants to do. And I don't know things. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm not insecure for sure.
Yeah, so I believe the holistic point is we are dependent on salary jobs. So without and because all salary jobs expect us to go through the 10th or 12th and beyond that whatever certification, that makes us insecure. And I do get this question a lot from my close circle as well, like how will the kid make a living without going through 10th, 12th? How will they find a job? How will they earn money? They would suffer in their later life. So these are views that when I say I'm doing open learning, people send me these questions.
Yeah. So interestingly, I would say that is a myth that 10, 12th in college will guarantee a job or it's easier way to a job, or that somebody who does not have 10, 12 will not get a job. In fact, I know of so many open learners who have got so many job offers, including my daughter, without having done any 10, 12th, and they literally rejected all the job offers, not because there was anything wrong with the job offers, because they had other plans in their life. But that's not important. So I think having seen so many children, or rather young adults, I shouldn't even say children, who get offers not because they have done any 10, 12, but because they want to do something in a particular field. I think, this is a kind of a myth or a conditioning that we live in. And which is why I'm wondering, why are people not questioning it? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with thinking that 10th and 12th will do this for me. But let's just question it. Let us just go ahead and ask people, hey, why are you asking for 10th and 12th? What if my child is good enough? Would you take him? And that's the thing that I would like. So I'm not even talking about world out there. I'm talking about actually people who have already taken off the beaten path, who are already into homeschooling or unschooling. That is what really more surprises me. Then who will question? The people who are already into schooling from beginning, they are obviously not questioning, which is fair enough. But the ones who are not in it, if they are also blindly doing it, in a sense, doing it maybe because of insecurity or whatever they are. So that is what literally surprises me.
It's also about the herd mentality, going towards the majority side than being on the minority side. That is
But they've
also
already, Preeti, they've already jumped out of that herd thing. They've already opted out of the schooling system. Then why go back to it is something which baffles
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Or it's not even baffles me. You can opt out. You can still go back and give 10, 12 if you have a reason to do that. One of the child here wanted to become a pilot, so he had to give 10th and 12th, which is fair enough. I was the one who was totally supporting him because he had a reason. He has a purpose. He has a plan in his mind. What I'm surprised is that without a plan, I'm just giving 10th and 12th in spite of already left a herd by doing unschooling or homeschooling. So that's the funny statistic.
But I
Ratnesh,
think in that, sorry.
sorry, Ratnesh, I think already you had answered this. So, say for example, I'm not in the context of job. I am asking. During the conversation discussion, only this question comes to my mind. If the child aspires to learn something, and which is coming under a structure, say like till the age of 18 or 20, the child haven't done it, but he hasn't do some whatever it is like a course, and if it demands for that learning, uh, obviously we had suggested in the with the case of a pilot thing, like if there is a need and if there is a requirement to follow, that can be suggested, right, Ratnesh? Like
Sure, carry on. I'm waiting for
so
your
what I'm
comment.
saying is that if what is the experience from you from overall, like for the learning, if there is a need comes up, like a 10th or a 12th qualification is needed for you to learn any particular stream or a course, uh, then how to how what is your experience on that? Like say I'm randomly thinking, I don't even thought of any course or kind of a thing, or doing a course in abroad which is archaeology or something like anthropology or something like that. If the child is interested, if the course demands, what would be a suggestion?
Maybe where Nanda is coming from is also one thing wherein the child maybe at till certain age is not clear where he or she wants to land. So at that time, maybe keeping a 10th, 12th degree is a security, that way.
No, I'm not pushing for a security. I'm confident. But if after reaching a point of a time,
You
there is
need
an
it.
aspiration to learn something, which is a coming under a structural thing. Yes, now I'm convinced. Now I have decided I want to pursue that course, and I want to do that. I'm not even asking anyone to prepare it. But at the age of like someone is coming 16 years, 15 years, now I decided, so kind of a journey. This is the course I want to do for my learning, just for pure learning, pure interest, whether it can be visual communication or something. So I think
So
that
Nanda Kumar, so two things. One is, uh, if you really count the kind number of jobs, I'm more talking about jobs, the number of jobs which actually require 10th and 12th as mandatory is only about 9 to 10. Not more than that in a world where there are about at least 10,000 different kinds of jobs. Only about 9 to 10 jobs compulsorily require you to have a 10th and 12th. Yeah, that's point number one. The point number two is, which is even more interesting, is that at any age, and I think we discussed this, I was replying to Enoch, at any age, if I need it, I can always go back and give 10, 12. And you don't even need to spend 10 years to do that. You can give
Agree.
10th in few months and appear for it. If that is what is really, really required, assuming that I will land up in a kind of a choice which requires 10th and 12th compulsorily. Yeah. So, and the third point, you're talking about a course. I think anything can be learned in this world without joining a so-called course in that sense, a course which requires me to give 10, 12. In fact, most universities nowadays, at least abroad and some even in India, are ready to offer courses, even if you do not have the preliminary, if it's not a certificate course, if you're doing it for pure learning, like the point that you mentioned. Unless you want a certification, then it's a different thing. Then you may be required to give 10, 12. So, what I'm trying to say is even this much investigation people are not doing. Even this list, just sit down and make a list of how many jobs necessarily, how many industries necessarily require 10th and 12th. And I think Enoch only was mentioning in the last Saturday one, if I want to be a medical field, I don't know if Enoch was mentioning or somebody else, that if I want to be in the medical field, I don't necessarily need to become a doctor. I can set up a hospital, hire 10 doctors and serve the nation. So it's, if you think of medical field, we only think of becoming a doctor. But more than doctor, I think people really require good administrators who can actually run hospitals in a more cost-effective way rather than billing up, running up people's bills and all that. So, what I'm saying is we haven't questioned it enough. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with 10, 12. I'm just saying we haven't questioned it enough. Sorry, please go ahead.
Ratnesh, I had a question for you.
Sure.
I will try to keep it as short as possible because I, have this habit of going on and on. The question is, sorry, the question is not to Ratnesh today, but the question is to the accumulated wisdom of Ratnesh over 20 years and, tens of thousands of children. Okay, the question here is that, see, we did not always have schooling, right? I mean, schooling probably came in probably less than 50 years or 100 years before, right? And before that, children just learned as per the need basis, the family business or whatever it is. Based on your accumulated experience over all this, so many years, would you say that the default system for a child of say between 5 to 15, which currently is schooling, it's a bad idea? We should not have the default as schooling. Would you say that from your experience?
You are saying it as a general, as a like the country should change its policy. Is that what you are saying, or you are saying is for an individual to decide?
No, for the society as a whole to say, like we never had schooling probably 100 years ago. It's not compulsory.
Sure.
Certain castes did it.
Sure. Yeah, I would say it should be optional. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any schooling, there shouldn't be any colleges, there shouldn't be any say. I'm saying it should be just an option. And if whoever wants to do that, for whatever reason, right, they should go ahead and do that. Okay. And whoever doesn't want to do that, well, there are so many ways of doing it. The way the society looks at it now is not as an option. It looks at it as a given, as Preeti was talking about. See, when you say that there is an insecurity, that means the insecurity is because of something, because of some importance, some pressure, something given to it. Otherwise, why would there be insecurity? Right. So that is exactly what I'm questioning at. According to me, there's nothing wrong with any institution for that matter. I mean, you can raise chickens in a poultry farm in a very controlled way, feed them exactly this much, put a lamp in the night and feed them in the night. And the moment they are X number of kgs, send them to the slaughterhouse. Or you can raise them, as an open farm, open field, where they go and eat whatever they feel like eating. I have no problem with the poultry farms. I have no problem with the field chicken, but the choice is available, right? Now, what we are saying is why do we look at it as no choice? Why do we look at it as something, oh, do this as a mandatory thing, right? That is what I'm questioning at. So, and I'm not even talking about the regular people who are anyway doing it. I'm more talking about people who have anyway chosen out of it, out of the schooling, and now saying, no, we'll embrace the 10th and 12th examination. without really having a clear purpose. Why are we doing it? So that's my thought. So I have nothing against any institution whatsoever.
Ratnesh, is it FOMO? FOMO? ये नया नया सीखा है मैंने इसलिए बोला.
I get it, Ratnesh. What you're saying is that it should be optional. Unlike what the government has done today, which makes it mandatory or quasi-mandatory nowadays for a child between that age group, 5 to 15, to be in a school. And I like what you're saying. What you're saying is that it should be an option. We are not saying we are against schooling. We are not saying we are for schooling. We are saying it should be optional. I like that approach. Thank you.
And incidentally, government some years back, I'm not remembering how many years back, made 10th optional. I don't know if you remember that. The central government announced that henceforth 10th will be optional. CBSE announced 10th will be optional. Children can opt out of not giving 10th. Okay, how many children opted out of that, out of not giving 10th? 0. I hope you remember that this was a law passed, and then CBSE embraced it and actually came out with this decision. And children could have opted out, but nobody opted out. Right? That's the funny part. So we are so ingrained. So that's why I'm saying it's not about government, it's about us questioning it. It's about industry questioning it, which in a slow way, the industry, at least the IT people, are questioning. Google at some publication says, we don't need to have degree holders. People who are good at it come along. So there are organizations which are questioning it. A lot of startups question it. I know a lot of homeschoolers who end up being in startups because the startups are more open to kind of unschoolers and open learners because of their energy that they bring in rather than the degrees that they bring in. So it's very interesting, but I think I'm just inviting more people to question it. Anyway, this led to a lot of time going into it. But since that was the theme, I thought I will take my opportunity to raise this. Preeti and Pranav will agree. This is my favorite question. I keep asking everybody and anybody. Okay, so thank you very much for today bearing with my questions and my thoughts, as well as engaging in the other discussions which were equally interesting. So thank you very much. And yeah, let's come back for the next Saturday. I would also request if people have themes which they would like to deeply go into, so we can go deeper into certain aspects. So, and that's most welcome. But till within the ambit of open learning and the journey, rather than all other societal issues, we're not getting into that. So please send it to us. We can incorporate them as themes. Yeah, and I would add to what I'll do the Dwiji's job of reminding that there are always recordings of previous themes and previous discussions which are there on the website, and we can go forward. So good. So thank you very much. It's 6:30. We are in that sense bang on time. And thank you for joining.
You.
And
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone,
Thanks,
have a
everyone.
nice weekend.